News and Views with Elliot Rodriguez, on the air and on the web at CBS4.com.
Welcome back to our show. If you or your children are in college, then you know how costs and student borrowing to pay them have skyrocketed in recent years. Last month, President Obama signed legislation that would replace most private loan programs with government-funded aid and make it easier to pay back existing loans beginning in 2014. Well, my next guest wrote a book to help students and their families avoid that fate. He's Logan Abrams, and his book is called Debt U. Logan, by the title of your book, Debt U, it seems to me that this new bill the president just signed into law couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah, it's very true. Students in debt have been growing in every year for over the past 15 years. So the Obama bill does take some of the burden off the students and helps the parents out a little bit, but also just brings it in-house to the government so they can reap some of the rewards of what they've been guaranteeing for years.
It may be great news for the future, but it may not help some of these kids that are about to graduate now with a ton of debt. Give me an idea of how much debt these kids are graduating with.
Right. Well, the average student in 2009 graduated with over $23,000 in student loan debt and over $3,000 in credit cards. And what most people don't understand is the interest rates on student loans nowadays are in the 5 and 6% range. So it's no longer just the best debt that students can have. The interest rates are higher than they are for mortgages and for cars.
Sure, that's a lot of money. And
yeah.
you know about this firsthand. Tell me.
I sure do. I live these experiences. I graduated college in 2003. Graduated myself with $16,000 in student loans and over $3,000 in credit card debt, and I'm still paying it back today. And the book is really about what I saw in college, but also once we got out of college, how my generation's spending habits were increasing the debt burden once they got out of college, and people find themselves in their late 20s and 30s with no idea how they got into that much debt, no idea how they're going to get out. And if they don't do something about it, they're going to be paying their student loans back the day they send their children to college.
But when it comes to the student loans, the students really don't have much of a choice. They need that money in order to get an education, right?
Yeah, they need the money, and the cost of education over the past just 10 years has gone up over 100% in America. So they need the money more and more every year.
Now, what about this other debt that you're talking about, the credit card debt? And I always have to scratch my head when I see these credit card companies on college campuses signing up kids for credit cards. Is that debt that's necessary? Are they spending this on things that they really need?
If you ask them, yes. If you ask yourself, probably not.
Well, what do you say now in retrospect? What do you think?
I think it's good and bad. And what I'd say in the book, in Debt U, is kids need to understand what they're spending the money on. So there's an understanded way to spend money in college, and there's a what I call Debt U way to spend money. So if they're just getting it for, it's a small loan for a couple months to get them through having to buy textbooks, then that's fine. But if they're going to, spring breaks every year that are a couple $1,000, that's probably not an educated way to use a credit card.
Okay, well, what did you find out about the impact that this is having on people once they get out of college and get into the working world?
That's the most startling fact, is what I term in the book a post-graduation stress disorder. And it's people in their mid to late 20s and sometimes early 30s that have a mountain of debt, no idea what to do with it, and the effects it's having on their lives. So I look at many people in college, after, and even when they start to have children, and the decisions they're having to make because of the debt that they piled up starting in college, but the way that it follows them through with their spending decisions and all up into their 20s and 30s.
Well, does it ever come to a point where you tell somebody, you know what, it's not worth getting that degree? If it's going to mean you're going to come out of college with that much debt, you're going to have that much stress, maybe that degree is not worth it. Do you ever tell somebody that?
I do say that college is not for everyone, because a lot of people go to college for a couple of years and don't graduate, and they still leave with the debt. So that's obviously a huge problem. But I do still believe that college is one of the best paths to help ensure success in the future. But what I say is that college is no longer a guarantee of anything. It's not a guarantee of a job. It's not a guarantee of higher income. So students need to understand that before going to college and make the best decision for them.
What's the best advice that you can give a young person right now getting ready to start college, or advice for the parents?
Right. Well, the advice for the parents is buy the book, buy Debt U, read it themselves, and then share it with their children. Because oftentimes when parents are planning for their kids to go to college, they don't include the child in those decisions that are going to impact the child's rest of their life. So this book does a good job of painting a picture for parents to understand what their kids are going to go through, but then also for their child, it puts it in terms that they can understand through relevant stories of people that were in their shoes. But you know, I tell parents to include it, but the real best thing is education. We need more education in high school, a mandatory personal finance class, and more education in college. So the parents can start the education with a book like Debt U, give it to their children, and then hopefully in the couple of years, we'll have mandatory classes in high school and mandatory classes in college.
Sounds like a great idea, and I think it's also a good idea for parents to start planning for those college years very, very early on when their kids are small.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems that I see with my generation is that debt now takes 15, 20, 25 years to pay off. How are we ever going to start saving for our children's future when we're still paying off our own?
It's a serious problem. Logan Abrams, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
A lot of good information in that book. It's called Debt U. Check it out if you're a parent or you're getting into college yourself right now. Still ahead, a new book is looking at how preserving a symbol of Florida turned into a battle royale. Manatee insanity when News and Views continues. Stay with us.